At the beginning of the story, we see a man sitting inside a dark prison cell whose name is Lee. In front of him is a piece of paper, and he is very carefully crafting a fake stamp by hand. Lee is no ordinary prisoner. He is a very skilled artist. He wants to send a letter to someone from inside the prison. But the problem is that to send a letter, he would need to pay the prison postman $10, and Lee does not have even a single dollar. So he uses his unbelievable skill to create a fake stamp with his own hand, and this stamp is so perfect that no one would ever be able to tell the difference between the real and the fake. After this, when the postman comes, Lee wants to give him the letter, but the postman demands $10. At exactly that moment, an old prisoner in the cell across suddenly starts shouting by pretending to be ill. This causes the postman to get distracted, and Lee seizes this opportunity to quietly slip his letter into the postman's bag. Now, who he is sending this letter to and why he is sending it, we will find out at the end of the movie. A little while later, the police come and take Lee out of prison. Here we learn that Lee had been locked inside a prison in Thailand for so many days, and now Inspector Ho of the Hong Kong police has taken him into custody. Inspector Ho sits him down in the interrogation room and begins reading out one by one all the charges against him. The first charge is counterfeiting currency. Besides this, 2 years ago, he had attacked a central bank vehicle on a highway in Canada, where approximately 7 guards had lost their lives. Not only that, several more attacks had occurred in the city after that. The police suspect an international gang is behind all of this, and Lee is directly accused of being involved in all these incidents. But as always, Lee denies all the charges. He keeps repeating the same thing over and over, that the mastermind behind all of this is a major mafia figure named Painter. However, he cannot provide any information about what Painter's real name is or where he can be found. Even today, in front of Inspector Ho, no useful information comes out of his mouth about Painter. Instead, a tremendous fear is visible on his face. He says, crying, that Painter will find him and kill him, so he should be sent back to prison as quickly as possible. After this, the police collect his blood and hair samples and match them with the DNA found at the crime scenes, and in the results, every single sample is a complete match with Lee. This means his crime has now become as clear as daylight. The police keep pressuring him again to confess the truth, but as every time before, this time too Lee refuses to admit to everything. At exactly this moment, a girl named Yuen was waiting outside the police station. She has come with her lawyer to get Lee out on bail, but the police clearly refuse her, saying that Lee is a very important witness in several major cases, so his bail is not possible under any circumstances. However, the police lay down one condition. Only if Lee reveals Painter's true identity will his bail be considered. Then, Yuen herself goes to Lee and requests him to tell the truth about everything. And at that very moment, Lee opens his mouth and begins recounting the events of the past. The scene now cuts back to many years earlier. Here we see Lee and Yuen for the first time. Both of them were artists and both painted magnificent paintings. Through art, they gradually draw closer to each other and fall in love. But there was one very big difference between the two. Yuen was a creative artist who created original paintings in her own unique style, while Lee did no original work. He would simply copy the paintings of famous artists perfectly. His copying ability was truly unbelievable, but the problem was that no one had any interest in these duplicate paintings. This very power of copying would eventually lead him down a dangerous path. One day, an art gallery owner named Luke comes to see their paintings. He is impressed by Yuen's work and wants to buy all her paintings, but he does not like Lee's paintings at all because they were copies of others' work. Luke refuses to include them in his exhibition. Then Yuen insists that he would have to buy all the paintings together or she would not sell even one. After Luke leaves, Lee tells Yuen not to worry about him. All his paintings have already been bought by someone in Tokyo. But a little while later, Yuen realizes that Lee is lying. Not a single one of his paintings had sold. In truth, Lee did not want his situation to become an obstacle in Yuen's career. Anyway, on the day of the exhibition, Yuen quietly places one of Lee's paintings beside her own. Everyone was praising the work. Just then, a man comes over and starts mocking Lee's painting. Seeing his behavior, Yuen gets so angry that she throws water on him. However, when the exhibition ends, Lee himself goes and apologizes to the man. The man then laughs and says he was only joking to get Lee to come meet him privately, because out of the entire exhibition, the painting he had bought was Lee's. After this, they sit in a restaurant and talk for a long time. The man introduces himself as Painter. Yes, this is the very Painter whose name Lee kept repeating to the police. Painter praises Lee and says that copying any picture in this way is no small feat. He offers straight away that this talent of Lee's will be very useful to him. The next day, Lee meets Painter and says he is ready to accept any offer he makes. Painter laughs and welcomes him into his team. But when Lee hears what work he will have to do, the ground shifts beneath his feet. Painter hands him a dollar bill and says he will have to reproduce this note exactly. This means Painter is directly offering Lee the job of making counterfeit currency. Lee immediately gets very angry and rejects his proposal. Then Painter reveals that his real name is Seng. For the past 3 generations, they have been in the business of printing counterfeit notes. But no one has ever had to go to prison because he does all this work very carefully. Now the question is whether Lee ultimately agrees to this dangerous offer. Painter then starts explaining to Lee that the pictures and letter patterns on this newly printed dollar are so complicated that even high-quality expensive printers cannot print it properly. That is why the unbelievable skill of Lee's hands will be needed here. And it was only after seeing Lee's work that Painter wants to convince him to accept this offer. Lee refuses at first, but thinking about his poor financial situation, he ultimately agrees. At that time, Yuen was going to America for an exhibition, so Lee quietly slips away without telling her anything. Painter takes him by plane to Canada. There, he introduces Lee to his entire team. This team includes some master craftsmen with 20 years of experience in making counterfeit notes. Everyone is an expert at some specific task. They all sit together and begin planning a major operation for making counterfeit currency. Here we understand that copying an American dollar is no child's play. Every US dollar has a photo of Benjamin Franklin on it, and this photo is made through many intricate layers. On Franklin's collar, the words United States of America are written in tiny letters. In new notes, the American government has added many more security layers. Because of this, copying this note is completely impossible without fine painting or advanced printing. Not only that, a special ink has been used in the notes which appears purple when viewed from one side and golden when viewed from the other. This is called the moire effect, meaning the ink has a color-changing effect. This means to make this note they would need to arrange both genuine paper and this special ink. Now Painter's entire team starts applying their minds to solutions for these problems. The biggest challenge was the watermark. For this, they follow the technique of old Chinese artists and plan to paint on 3 separate layers. On the middle layer, the watermark will be set very carefully, and all this work Lee would have to complete by hand. Before starting the main work, Lee prepares some practice notes. He draws the notes so perfectly that everyone in the team is completely astonished seeing his work. After practicing this way for a few days, they suddenly go to Eastern Europe. There, at an auction, an old banknote printing machine was being sold, and they buy it. Now the question comes of where to get paper like the real banknote. Then Painter gives a remarkable piece of information. He says that the exact same quality of paper used by the USA government to print notes is also used to make telephone directories. The moment they hear this, they go to that directory printing house and directly buy 500 tons of paper from the owner. Now with this paper, the work of printing counterfeit notes according to Lee's design begins. Note after note starts coming out of the massive machine bought at auction. And these notes look exactly like real notes. But one major problem was still remaining, and that was the color-changing moire effect. The special ink needed for this is only available with government offices. To obtain this ink, Painter devises a terrifying plan. Painter, along with his team, directly attacks a central bank vehicle. That vehicle contains several barrels of the color-changing ink, and Painter had come to loot them. Now, whether he wants to or not, Lee has to go along with him for this job. While attempting to seize the vehicle, the guards start opening fire, and in response, Painter's gang fires back. Poor Lee gets badly trapped in this fierce gunfight. Just then, a guard suddenly points his gun at Lee. But at that very moment, Painter arrives and shoots the guard down. After this, Painter throws a bomb and blows up a distant vehicle. Because of this, the remaining guards are also killed. Then they loot the ink barrels and quickly vanish from there. But seeing Painter's violent side for the first time among all of this, Lee trembles to his core. Until now, he had been fearfully making counterfeit notes, but he had never imagined he would also have to be involved in bloodshed. But now he was stuck in a quicksand from which there was no way out. After bringing the moire effect ink, they load it into the printer and begin printing notes again. And now every single note that comes out shows the same color-changing effect as a real note. Seeing this sight, the entire team starts jumping with joy because they had created something that it was impossible to distinguish from a real note. But Lee was feeling very guilty deep inside. He asks Painter that when this ink runs out, will people have to be killed again to get more ink? It would be better if he tried making this ink himself. But Painter hears his words and scolds him loudly and shuts him up. Now on Painter's orders, his men start smuggling suitcases full of counterfeit notes to different countries. In this way, their counterfeit currency empire keeps growing day by day. But the police had already gotten wind of their activities. An undercover police officer named Wing is given the responsibility of investigating this case. Wing, along with Inspector Ho, starts following the movements of Painter's gang. Then, disguising himself as a buyer, he goes directly to meet the gang members. There, Painter's men were having a party on a boat in the middle of the sea. Although Painter and Lee were not present there, Wing observes everything from there and then leaves. But Painter's real game had not even begun yet. Painter fixes a meeting with an old client of his named General. The next day, he sets out for General's house, taking Lee along. On the way, Lee tells Painter something important. He says he knows about a special type of carpenter through which the moire effect can be produced. This means a two-color effect from two different angles can be brought to the dollar bill using this technique, and for this no one will need to be killed. Painter is quite pleased hearing his idea and promises that he will buy a resort in Lee's name, where Lee can spend the rest of his life in peace with UN. But just then, Painter suddenly puts a bomb's remote in Lee's hand and says that only on his signal will Lee have to press this button. After reaching General's house, the meeting begins normally. General offers Painter a good price to buy counterfeit notes and says to shift for 6 months along with his entire gang and also teach his own people to make counterfeits as perfectly. Then General laughs and says that if your father were alive, he would have agreed to this deal immediately. The moment Painter hears this, the expression on his face changes in a terrifying way. He slowly gets up from his chair and goes to General and whispers in his ear, "7 years ago, it was you who killed my father." Hearing this, General understands that Painter did not come here to do business, but to take revenge. Painter opens his shirt to show that his entire body has bombs strapped to it. He then shouts at Lee to press the remote's button, but Lee is trembling so badly with fear that he cannot even move his hand. When Painter scolds him even more loudly, the remote falls from Lee's hand, and as it hits the ground, its switch gets pressed. But the explosion does not come from the bombs strapped on Painter's body, because those were fake. The actual blast happens in Painter's car parked outside, meaning this man was driving around with a full bomb in his car. The powerful shockwave of the explosion brings down several of General's men right there. The rest come running and start firing at Painter. But Painter, with a gun in each hand, fires in such a style that men start falling to the ground one after another. But this was only the beginning, because General 2 was no raw contestant. But Painter had made arrangements for this beforehand. One of his associates in the distant jungle starts continuously firing a rocket launcher. The rocket launcher attacks blow everything up, and the entire area gets engulfed in flames. Amidst the smoke and devastation on all sides, Painter picks up 2 rifles and clears out even more men. Then, some more of his associates arrive with vehicles and start mowing down General's men. Meanwhile, some of General's men go into the jungle and finish off the man firing the rocket launcher. Among all of this, poor Lee is huddled in a corner trying to save his own life. This gunfight goes on for quite a long time. In the end, General himself comes in an armored car and starts firing directly at Painter. But Painter leaps in a spectacular style and fires at it, and aiming at the right part of the vehicle, flips the whole car over. In this way, he finishes off General 2. But during this battle, a girl named Ching, who worked for General, catches fire. Lee runs over and extinguishes the flames on her, but by then, her face had been badly burned. On the way back, Painter takes her to the hospital and then blows up General's entire hideout and reduces it to rubble. About 1 month later, Ching slowly starts recovering from her injuries. Painter gives her a new ID and passport on which her name was written as UN. Seeing this, Lee gets very angry because UN is the name of his girlfriend, but Painter pays no attention to his words. In this way, with a new identity, Ching joins Painter's gang and gradually starts becoming attracted toward Lee, although Lee does not pay much attention to all of this. Meanwhile, one day, all of them go together to watch UN's art show. There, Painter tells Lee he has arranged the resort for him. Now he will be able to spend his life in peace and happiness with UN. But Lee says sadly whether UN would want to live in a resort bought by a criminal. Just then they find out that UN is going to marry Luke, the art gallery owner. In truth, Lee had not been in contact with UN for many days, because of which UN did not wait for him any longer and got into a relationship with Luke. After learning this news, Lee quietly comes out of the gallery and tells Painter that he and Ching now want to leave this gang. Painter erupts furiously curses him, and says he can only leave after finishing the work of making the ink. Meanwhile, the undercover officer Wing once again changes his disguise and wants to meet Painter directly. But Painter already had suspicion. He investigates and finds out that a gang member of his named Uncle Jan had bought a watch and had used their own counterfeit notes to buy it, while Painter's gang had a strict rule that no one would buy anything with their own counterfeit notes. This meant Jan had broken the rules, and it was because of this mistake that the police had gotten wind of their activities. Because of this, Painter wants to punish Jan. Jan falls before him and starts begging and pleading for the lives of his wife and daughter because Painter had another terrifying rule. If someone makes a mistake, their family is also eliminated. But Painter pays no attention to Jan's weeping and pleading and coolly shoots him dead directly. Seeing this merciless murder, Lee cannot control himself. He immediately lunges at Painter, but Painter fires a bullet past his ear and punches him hard in the face. Wing again changes his disguise and comes to meet Painter, but Painter already knew all his plans. So while talking, he suddenly tells Lee to shoot Wing. But this time too, Lee cannot move from his spot. In the end, Painter himself shoots Wing and finishes him off. After this, he gets even more furious with Lee and reveals something in front of him that sends a cold wave through Lee's entire body. Painter shows that he currently has Yuen and her about to be husband Luke held hostage, meaning this man had somehow kidnapped Yuen and Luke, only to blackmail Lee. Painter directly tells Lee to shoot Luke, but Lee absolutely refuses to do this. He instead points a pistol right at Painter. During this crossfire, bullets fly wildly, and Luke is killed. After this, a tremendous gun battle breaks out between Painter and Lee. During this, Ching arrives and starts finishing off Painter's men one by one. In the end, Lee shoots Painter directly in the chest and finishes him off too. Lee wants to save Yuen, but Ching threatens to kill Yuen and stops him. In truth, Ching had become very attracted to Lee, so she did not want Yuen to get anywhere near Lee under any circumstances. Lee is left with no other option, so he is forced to leave Yuen there and escape. After this, he takes the bag of money and goes to the very resort that Painter had bought for him. The next morning, Lee reads in the newspaper that the police have not found Painter's dead body. At that point, only one thought comes to his mind, that perhaps Painter is not dead and will take revenge by killing Yuen. So Lee quickly sets out to save Yuen. But in the meantime, the police come and arrest him on the way. Meaning after this, what happened is what we saw at the beginning of the movie. The police lay down a condition before Lee that only if he gives all information about Painter will he get bail. And the Yuen who Lee had left behind is the one who has come to save him because Lee had written a letter from prison asking for her forgiveness. Remember the matter of sending a letter with a fake stamp at the beginning of the movie? That letter was actually sent to this Yuen. At Yuen's advice, Lee tells the police everything truthfully from beginning to end about Painter. The police ask him to draw a sketch of Painter, after which he is granted bail, and the police take him to a hotel and leave him there. There, Lee apologizes to Yuen, and a romantic moment passes between them. At exactly that moment, Inspector Ho spots a man wearing a police uniform, whose face is a perfect match for the sketch of Painter that Lee had drawn. And the interesting thing was that this man was walking into the police station itself, wearing a police uniform. So he immediately works with his team to arrest him right away. Everyone thinks the country's most wanted criminal has finally been caught, but the man shouts in astonishment, "Since when am I a criminal? I am just an ordinary police constable." When he shows his ID, Inspector Ho's face goes pale, because now he understands that Lee had been fooling them all this time. But believe me, the real truth is still to come, and it is so shocking that you will be left stunned. Have you understood the point so far? The terrifying Painter whose story has been told all this while, Painter is actually none other than Lee himself. From designing counterfeit notes to attacking the central bank vehicle and the massacre at General's hideout, all of this was carried out by him alone. But to protect himself, he played a completely innocent person before the police and created an imaginary character named Painter, and the face of the poor police constable he had seen on duty at the time of his arrest. That is the face he drew as Painter's sketch. Think about it. Throughout the entire movie, we thought Lee was an innocent artist who was forcibly dragged into this crime, when in reality, he was the true mastermind of this entire operation. Not only that, there is yet another terrifying truth. After coming from China, Lee had never actually met Yuen at all. The girl who had come to the police station to save him and who was with him in the hotel was not actually Yuen. She was Qing herself, whose face Li had altered through plastic surgery to give her Yuan's appearance. Remember, during the battle at General's hideout, Qing's face had been burned. Right after that, Li had her made to look like Yuan, because he had never been able to have the real Yuan. So he kept Qing with him by turning her into Yuan. Anyway, the next day, the fake Yuan, Qing, gets very frustrated. She realizes that Li never loved her as Qing. He was only ever searching for Yuan's face in her. In this very anger, Qing kidnaps the real Yuan and her boyfriend Luke and tells Li that if you truly love me, finish them off. Then a gunfight breaks out between them, and in that shooting, Luke is killed. After this, when Li runs away, the police catch him. But meanwhile, Qing comes again to save him because Li had written a letter from prison asking for her forgiveness. Now, after learning all this truth, Inspector Ho immediately runs toward the hotel. But by then, it was too late. After killing all the hotel's guards, Li and Qing had already fled. Both of them were now on a boat sailing far away from Hong Kong across the sea. But just then, Qing suddenly reveals something that breaks Li's heart. Qing says she is deliberately steering the boat in circles, and before coming here, she had written the boat's number on a lighter so the police could easily find them. Now, what was the reason for this? Because Qing had understood that Li would never love her. He only ever loved Yuan's face that lived within her, meaning Qing too now wants to take revenge on Li. Just then, Li sees that the police have surrounded them from all sides. He wants to speed the boat up and flee. But Qing had already hidden explosives in the boat beforehand. She presses the trigger, and with a tremendous explosion, the entire boat turns into a ball of fire. In the end, those flames consume them both. After Li's death, Inspector Ho goes to the real Yuan. He tells her that they have identified Painter. Now, Yuan had no idea that Li was the real Painter, because during the kidnapping, her eyes had been blindfolded. When Inspector Ho shows her Li's photo, she says yes, she knows this man. He used to be her neighbor once. This means there was never any relationship between Li and Yuan at all. His love was entirely one-sided, and he had never spoken the words of his heart to Yuan. He was so obsessed with her that he wanted to become an artist like Yuan. But becoming an original artist like her was not within Li's capability. That is why he used his extraordinary copying skill and chose a wrong path. His plan was to earn a lot of money and one day stand before Yuan with his head held high. But that dream of his was ultimately reduced to ashes too. The scattered pieces of the boat in the dark waters of the sea, the ash of burning paper, and the wasted end of a remarkable talent. The one he loved did not even know him, and the one who loved him, he never valued. And that's the end of the movie. Hope you enjoyed the recap. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a hype comment, and tell me which movie I should recap next. Don't forget to subscribe to Midnight Recaps and press the bell icon so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.